Welcome to American Dreams, Keys to Success, with your host, Alan Olson.
Welcome back. I have today here with me Patrick Flynn. Patrick is the Managing Director of Private Capital Corporation. And welcome to today's show.
Thank you, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Patrick, can you give me some background on Private Capital Corp, what they do?
Sure. We've been in existence approximately 40 years, and we consider ourselves financial architects to the privately held company. We're trusted advisors to CEOs and CFOs on a number of financial issues that the CEOs and CFOs are presented with on occasion, either during their life of business and certainly at the end when they're trying to determine different strategies for exit.
Now, I understand that prior to your involvement with Private Capital Corporation, that you were involved in several entrepreneurial startups.
Yes.
Can you tell me something about these experiences? And
Sure. I consider that to be my informal master's and doctorate degrees on the dark side, as I call it. Being a CPA by profession, I moved into the private world first with a group of surgeons that hired me as their CFO to execute a number of plans to vertically and horizontally integrate different entities in the medical profession. We did some diagnostic entities from the first MRI in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to rehabilitation facilities, both occupational and otherwise. So we went from soup to nuts, and that was prior to legislation that kind of curtailed that type of activity, or at least limited it later on.
Was it a big area transitioning though from the CPA world into the private practice as a CFO?
It was different. Someone told me when I started the transition that if you thought tax season was tough, being in the private world was 24/7. And I did discover that, even though with the doctors being on call 24/7, they felt I had to be on call 24/7 as well. But it is much more intense, and it's every day, and it's on your mind all the time.
I'd always be afraid of reporting to a bunch of guys with knives in their hands most of their job.
That's correct. That's correct.
So when we go into moving into the entrepreneurial, I understand that you transitioned out of the medical industry then, and it went directly into this Private Capital Corporation.
There was a stop in between.
Okay.
During my time with the doctors, we did a number of different construction projects for both medical and, in some cases, sports-related entities. So I had a breadth of experience in a number of different entities and was exposed to a construction company that I developed a relationship with and later moved to be their CFO in the Midwest. And as we were developing exit strategies for the family-owned business, we were referred to private capital. So I was actually a client of private capital before I became a managing director.
Really?
Yes.
So as a client, what exactly was private capital doing for you?
Well, they were evaluating the best way to succeed the existing third-generation chairman and still make the entity viable. It was something that we didn't want to sell. We wanted to maintain that entity. And the chairman had ideas as to what they wanted to do, liquidate, and perhaps still stay involved. So private capital had a wealth of experience in determining financial solutions for that, whether it be an ESOP, whether it be a management stock ownership plan, or an employee stock ownership plan, which is the ESOP.
That has to be a big issue today with all the baby boomers out there and what's going on with demographic shifting.
It is, and I think there's a number of people that are out there that are looking for those types of solutions that, because they've been so involved with their day-to-day operations, they forget that there is an exit strategy that needs to be contemplated at an appropriate time. So there's a lot of people that are looking for those types of solutions, and we hope that we can find them.
Yeah, do you get a lot of people coming to you saying, I want to transition and move this out, but, I'm afraid to retire, or just not sure I'm ready yet?
Yes, that's true, because they haven't planned for that particular moment in time when they're not going to be the chairman or the CEO, and they're going to lose a little bit of their identity. So there has to be a good runway for them to plan for that and perhaps develop some other activities, whether it even be in another business, or something that they always loved to do, but they never had the opportunity to do it.
It's interesting. A lot of people, as they go through life is happening day to day, but it's kind of like we're all on this conveyor belt, and nothing we can do to stop the belt, and eventually we're going to fall off.
Well, sometimes you can put your foot out and maybe slow it down a little bit, but yeah, you're right. We can't stop it.
I think we need to get all that we can, and having an advisory practice like Private Capital Corporation around it helps keep perspective.
Yes, it does, and it keeps you focused on the long-term plan and the holistic picture, because you can't devise something that could be possibly detrimental to the company or the entity now to sacrifice or to prepare for your exit. So we want to be sure that we're planning for the company as well as the individual and the community.
I'm here today visiting with Patrick Flynn. He's the Managing Director of Private Capital Corporation, an organization that focuses on helping companies in their succession plans, a really hot topic in today's economy. We'll be right back after these messages.
Protecting your family's health and welfare is a sacred trust. At Greenstein Rogoff Olson Company, we know that sound financial planning will protect them now and in the future. We're certified public accountants with tax services for the highly successful. For your business and your family, call GrowCo.
Greenstein Rogoff Olson Company will help you manage your financial affairs so you can focus on what's really important in life.
GrowCo, helping you along the way.
And now, here's All-American Alan Olson.
Welcome back. I'm visiting here today with Patrick Flynn. Patrick is the Managing Director of Private Capital Corporation, and it's an organization that facilitates succession planning. Primary focus of the organization is with companies between $25 to $50 million in revenue. A really hot area in today's economy as these baby boomers, move out into the sunset and are trying to transition these companies to the next generation. So let's go back and give me a little bit of history of how did you get to where you are today as the Managing Director of Private Capital Corporation?
Well, it took about 20 years to get to this point, first as a CPA and then on the entrepreneurial side with a number of different entities, and first as a client of Private Capital Corporation. And through that process, became very intimate with Private Capital and the services they provided. And as I changed careers, when going back into the CPA profession, Dick Buxton, once you get into the Private Capital family, you're adopted. And Dick was very good at staying in touch. And I did a couple of kind of independent projects for Dick.
Now, Dick, was he the founder of one of the early founders of the ESOP plan?
Dick could be considered right along with Kelso as one of the pioneers of the ESOP itself.
And which, for the listeners, that's Employee Stock Ownership Plan.
That is correct. Yep, and that was, Dick had a passion for employee stock ownership and has been doing that for the past 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dick was a former guest of this show, and, for the listeners, the ESOP plan was a way that the owners could step out of an organization and turning it over to their employees, and allowing them to see the next generation come through.
Correct. It's one of the tools of many that can be a pretty powerful tool for an exit strategy, while at the same time maintaining some involvement with the company and creating the legacy for the owners, the founders. So,
Patrick, let's move over to today's economy or economic environment.
Yes.
What do you see out there?
It's tough, and it's going to stay tough for quite some time. What people are finding, what's even more frustrating, is people had planned on different exit strategies about 4 or 5 years ago when everybody got a surprise in 2008 and found that their exit strategies were no longer appropriate for a variety of reasons. So during these last 4 years, a lot of people have been trying to recover from that and either surviving or not surviving, and at the same time trying to develop alternative plans for exit strategies or succession planning in the interim. And that's been a tough challenge. Banking relationships have changed. Culture has changed in terms of entrepreneurial spirit. So it's a challenge for the the founder, owner, entrepreneur to find that appropriate successor. And that's one of the areas that we've developed through a process we call private capital partners, where we can partner with privately held companies to re-energize their company through a variety of solutions, whether we're introducing a new CEO that is at a point in time where they're willing to make an investment in the company and breathe new life into the company. If we're looking at a founder that's maybe 65 to 70 and knows that there's an opportunity to take advantage of a market niche, but yet doesn't have the energy to perhaps go through another round, if you will, of that type of activity. So we can bring all those parties together, orchestrate it, participate in it, and we create, in essence, a succession plan through breathing new life into a company. And the owner can actually stay involved, but to a limited extent, and then move on at his own or her own timetable.
Yeah, is it tough for these owners to get out of the companies, something that they've created?
It is, because obviously it's a passion for them, and it's something they've spent the majority of their lifetime living with and breathing every day. So all of a sudden their identity has changed because they're no longer the CEO of a company or the owner of the company. They may still be involved, but not to the same extent in controlling day-to-day operations or making those decisions that gave them a lot of energy and satisfaction. So it is tough, and that's some of the services that we provide, as well as that type of counseling through appropriate experts.
I'm visiting here today with Patrick Flynn. He's a managing director of Private Capital Corporation. Patrick, if somebody wanted to contact you, how would they do that?
Well, they can do it through our website at www.privatecapitalcorp.com, and our phone numbers are on that website. That would probably be the best way. Otherwise, email at pflynn@privatecapitalcorp.com would be another way of contacting us.
All right. And do you have any preference between email versus the website? Or
email is probably better. In today's world of electronics, that's the best way to get people, because we're kind of fluid in that we have a national practice, so we're pretty much out most of the time. So email is one way.
How many offices?
We have currently 4 offices, 2 in California, 1 in Pennsylvania, and 1 in North Carolina.
Very good. So Patrick Flynn, the Managing Director of Private Capital Corporation. Patrick, thank you for joining today's show.
Thank you, Alan. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to American Dreams with Alan Olson on AM 1220 KDOW.